And everybody wave hello. We're waving hello. We're waiting for all the streams to start. Effectively, we're streaming, but we're waiting. Everybody has to try. We are on two Facebook pages. We are waiting for, we're on. Okay, let's do this. Here we go. Let me start us. Dance with me. Never leave a lady alone on
Welcome
the
to
dance
Read
floor.
My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, aka Radio Red, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators
of you.
about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's aka Radio Red.
To the voice of Ryan Treasure for getting me on the air. I'm Radio Red. It is Monday night. Where in the world else would I be? I'm really sad because this is my last live show of 2025, but there's plenty more coming starting in January. We're booked all the way through late February, early March already. This is the Creativity Show, aka Read My Lips, which it was originally named. And I have three wonderful creatives. You all, by the way, Trupti and Trevor and Ethan, I want you to add the word creative with the capital C to your bios, to your titles. You are now officially an AK Radio Red Creative. There you go. So I want to welcome all of you, and let's just do a little bit of an opening here before I greet you, and I have a gift for each of you. So today is December 15th. Where in the world is the world going, the year going, the day going, the month going? Ethan, I know. This is the 349th day of 2025 in the Gregorian calendar. And I don't know if all of you know it, but we used to have the Julian calendar. And seriously, Tripti, Julian forgot about 8 days in the beginning of October. And anybody who had those birthdays, they just didn't get them very often. I wasn't alive then, so it wasn't a problem. I'm a Libra, but I got to tell you, along came Gregorian. I call him one of the early creatives. I don't know if it was before he became Pope Gregory or not, but he said to his mom one day, "Hey, Mama, we got to do something about that crazy Julian calendar." So he added leap year every fourth year, and he added a day, and now we're aligned with the moon and the stars and the water and the tide, and everybody got their October birthdays back, and I think that's a wonderful thing. 16 days left, and I'm just going to go around the table with some advice. Ethan, if you're looking for something really exciting to drink on New Year's Eve, I don't care whether it's got what the bubblies are or not, the shelves are going to be, even on the online liquor stores, wine stores, whatever, the shelves are going to be cleared out in about 10 minutes. So right after the show, you go buy something. Trevor, you look like the kind of person who might be making homemade Kahlua. It's late, but you got to start because you want all those flavors to blend. And Tripti, I don't know your background, but I have a feeling there might be a grandfather with a whiskey still behind the house, and you got to rev that up because it's not prohibition anymore, but you got to get it going. You all don't have very much time left. I want you all to, before the end of the year, I don't know what I'm drinking, hot chocolate with fresh whipped cream and a little jigger of rum, and I've got it all ready here. I want you all to put your fingers up in the shape of the letter L, please, and we do a special shout out every week. That's it. On the count of three, I want you to follow my lead, and I want you to say, hello, LLL, just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello,
Hello, L,
L, L,
L,
L.
L.
Be still by heart. Jordan Henson is our engineer for Voice America Media Empowerment. Jordan, they're number one of the year. Nobody, no three-person panel has ever done it exactly in sync. We didn't rehearse it. I am so excited and so proud of you. Tripti and Trevor and Ethan, you just blew me away. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. She hasn't been feeling well the past couple weeks, but I know she's listening tonight, and I want to just send her a happy holiday and hugs and love. She's been listening for years, and when she's feeling good, she'll send me an email at 6:01 p.m. Eastern Time right after the show, and she'll tell me, it's like a little book report, and she'll tell me what each of you said on the show and how much she enjoyed hearing you. So let's hope she does that tonight. I have to tell you, on December 15th, we're going to go back in time here a little bit. I have some top Billboard songs. I want you all to be very grateful that I'm doing this. In 1995, Mariah Carey and Boys to Men were singing One Sweet Day, and I think this is a sweet day because you're all here with me. That was the number one hit. In 2015, it was Hello by Adele. Isn't that lovely? And this year, they think the number one for the year, but still right today, is The Fate of Ophelia by Taylor Swift. And of course, Mariah Carey's wonderful Christmas holiday, All I Want for Christmas Is You. So there you go. I have a couple of celebrity birthdays before we get started. Anybody remember? You remember Miami Vice? Have you ever heard of that TV show? Well, Don Johnson is 76 years old today. What?
Wow.
Actor, singer. He had a charting song he sang. He was a recording singer, producer, director, songwriter. He was James Sonny Crockett in the 1980 show Miami Vice, and he also played the lead character in Nash Bridges. But he set the tone for detectives who dress real classy. Also, anybody remember Lady Mary Crawley from Downton Abbey? Well, Michelle Dockery is 44 today. She was in not only the TV show, but three Downton Abbey movies. Adam Brody, who you may know or may not from the OC, and he's in Nobody Wants This, currently a very interesting sitcom with Kristen Bell. And anybody remember the Carol Burnett show? The wonderful, make us laugh, make us cry. Tim Conway was born today in 1933. He passed away in 2019 at the age of 85, and he was Mr. Tudball, and he used to talk to Carol Burnett, who was his secretary, Mrs. O'Wiggins, and that was a Romanian accent from his mom. It wasn't Swedish, and he was the oldest man. Today is National Cupcake Day, and it's National Cat Herders Day, and has nothing to do with real felines, so there you go. Now I'm ready to introduce all of you. Whew, it's a lot. Okay, here we go. When I call your name, I just want you to smile and wave a little bit. So, welcome to the Creativity Show, where stories ignite, aka Radio Red on her Scarlett Mic, live streaming bright. See how bright I am? The narration of creativity. Our topic today takes center stage, where curiosity and courage turn the page. Trevor Harrison, Trupti Gokani, MD, and Ethan Starr join today. Three seasoned creatives with a lot to say. Hear their paths and insights at our Roundtable True, an enlightening and inspiring hour we're bringing to you. So here we go. Trevor, you're up first. From working class roots in Edmonton, where his story began, Trevor drew curious, a thinker, a writer, a traveling man. Across Canada, the US, Europe, horizons stretched wide until sociology called him Trevor, Trevor, with questions deep inside. A professor, a scholar, 12 books proudly penned, where lived experience and insight gracefully blend. From poetry and memoir to tales both wise and light, Trevor's words echo the lives readers recognize at first sight. Travel fuels his thinking, each language, place, and sound where body, mind, and memory creatively meld and rebound. With journeys from Turkey to Vietnam lighting the way, Trevor turns movement into meaning and creativity that will stay. Trevor, I hope you like that.
That was very nice. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You've been on several times, and I have to do a new one for you every time you're on the show. So I just want you to
And
know.
and they're all quite wonderful.
I'll take
Appreciate
quite
them.
wonderful any day of the week. Thank you very much. And Tripti is next. Born in Kampala, Uganda, Tripti's journey began. Smuggled to safety, a courageous young plan. Raised in Chicago, where two worlds aligned, Western ambition and Eastern roots intertwined. From business school dreams to medicine's test, Tripti's first year hit hard, her lowest crest. Then Ayurveda called with ancient insight and grace, restoring her sleep, reawakening her pace. Tripti founded an integrative neurology space, easing migraine pain with a mind-body embrace. She authored The Mysterious Mind, then the Stress RX too. Knowing your stress type helps you heal, thrive, and renew. Tripti, what'd you think?
Amazing.
I'm glad. Okay. And Ethan, you've been on before, and I never did this for you before. So, raised in Amherst, Mass., where ideas fill the air, with his mathematician father at Amherst College there. Math and history caught Ethan's eye. Quiz shows honed his wit. And as schools match wits, his curiosity proved a hit. From pickle factory summers to degrees earned with care. Political science, that's the show, and library science shaped how he'd prepare. A Warren Buffett biography sparked markets, numbers, and drive, where research met investing. Ethan's ideas came alive. From nonprofit profiles to launching his research domain, he gathers colorful facts beyond what others just see plain. With his book Billionaire Trivia set to debut and impress, Ethan proves curiosity is the foundation of creative success. Ethan, what'd you think?
Thank you. Very impressive.
You're
Mm.
welcome. Very
Really
impressive.
quite good. I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. And let me wrap this up so we'll get the show started. So gather around where the cool vibes of the cool kids sway as we dive deep into creativity. Yes, right here now today, aka Radio Red's energy. That's me, lights the way. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. Everybody good? Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. That's my gift to you. Show's over. Okay, you go home now. Okay, now, what I'd like to do is give you each a minute or two or three at the most to tell us a little more in 12 lines. I couldn't possibly tell your whole story. So, Trevor, I'm putting you up on speaker view. Welcome back. Always lovely to see
Oh,
you. And shout out to Mickey Mickelson, who introduced us a couple of years ago. I thank you for the
mhm.
referral and the introduction. Trevor, anything you'd like to tell us more about who you are and what you do that I didn't cover? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, maybe actually some updates in some sense. You'll see actually the picture behind me here. That's actually a photo, a pano photo of Ho Chi Minh City, because I just got back from Vietnam about 9 days ago or so. So I've recuperated now. Fabulous 3.5 weeks or so traveling with my adult son from the north of the country down to the south, and just wonderful time. So, as you know, Red, I have a fairly eclectic number of things I'm doing, from poetry to short stories, creative writing, and of course, still my academic work. And anyway, part of that is inspired always by travel. And so I've spent a lot of my life traveling to different places. I love seeing different things. I love the stories that come out of it. I love meeting with different people. It's that's for me what life is about, and so creativity really flows from those kinds of experiences.
Thank you and welcome back. And by the way, your Canadian accent is showing today, Trevor. I picked up on at least three aboots. I love the accent. I'm teasing you with kindness and love. You know that. So
Oh,
thank
it's
you.
all fine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking to come back on the show. I appreciate that very much. It's lovely to see you. And now let's go to Trupti Gokani. I met you at the Publicity Summit a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, and there's another one coming up in February already. And you intrigued me. And I said to you, quick, do you want to come on the show? I have an opening on December 15th. Tell me right now. Give me your phone. Give me your name. Give me your email. I want to. And you said yes. So here you are. I'm putting
Oh,
you on.
2 minutes.
We had 2 minutes on the clock with a moderator, a monitor saying to me, "Okay, time's up." I said, "No, not yet. I'm not done with her yet." Okay, I'm putting you on speaker view. Why don't you tell us a little more about yourself and explain Ayurveda, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, so that discovery of Ayurveda that first year in medical school when I was struggling with sleep issues really just opened my eyes up to the beauty of Eastern medicine. And as a Western person growing up in Chicago, even though I'm Indian of origin, I really grew up with the Western model. And so while my eyes opened up to this model of Ayurveda, we made up of 5 elements: air, space, fire, earth, and water. Every one of us is born into a state. We're either the air space kind of Vata personality, the Pitta fire personality, or the earthy water and personality. And the goal is really to kind of get to know your birth state and then get to know where you are now, because that disconnect equals stress. And so we always try to find our way back to our birth. And my goal is to help as many people understand this ancient 5,000-year-old medicine and use it today in this modern world.
Can you tell us which state we're in just by meeting us? Could you tell me or Ethan, or I'm not meaning to put you on the spot. I don't know how it works. So
Yeah.
how much in depth interviewing or profiles? What does it take to tell somebody? I'm just curious. What does it take to tell somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question. Actually, it came up on Saturday. I was doing a workshop, and that was one of the audience members said, "Can you just tell what I am right now?"
Okay.
There is physiology to it. Like for example, I'll just speak to me like bigger teeth, kind of softer nose, rounder face. That goes along with the Kapha earth type. Thicker hair, and you've got some of those rounder features, rounder face, kind of thick hair. The earthy state is that grounded, kind of bigger physiology. The Vata, kind of smaller frame, moving, going, doing, kind of smaller personality. So smaller, not personality, smaller frame, big personality because they like to talk a lot. So you can kind of gauge a little
Uh-oh.
bit But if we get chatting, maybe towards the end of the hour, I can give you guys some hints.
That would be fun. All right, we'll save some time for that at the end. I'll try. Either that will stay. Well, Ethan has to leave at 6, so let's see if we can squeeze it in. Ethan Starr, welcome back. Always lovely to see you at the summit. And I'm putting you on speaker view. Anything else you would like to tell us? Go
Sure,
ahead.
absolutely. Thank you. Well, even before I went to library school, when I was a little kid growing up in Amherst, I read all the Hardy Boy books and I really wanted to be a private detective when I grew up. And then I went to library school and I said, really, being a librarian is kind of like being an intellectual detective. You're being a detective, but you're not searching for how to solve a crime, you're searching for information.
Mm.
How do you find the information you're looking for? And I really enjoyed going to school. And then I finished and I said, gee, I ended up getting a job at a nonprofit doing fundraising research, and I researched major donors. So that was very interesting. It's kind of like doing any kind of sales work, or if you're an attorney cross-examining somebody, whether they're a customer or a witness, you want to know their story in advance, and that is same is true in fundraising. So I
Mm.
did that for 3 years, and I said, gee, I wanted to go in a little different direction, and I went out on my own and started researching the stories and gathering information. And the end result is this book, Billionaire Trivia. These fascinating stories of American billionaires, and it's one of the challenges is first of all, I have to find the information, and that lots of reading. I'm always looking for information, and also if I can have a chance to meet a billionaire, which is challenging because they're often have very busy schedules, and I'm always alert to if they publish a book, they're doing a book tour, and I can meet them at the book tour or other places, and it's a challenge. So.
Very interesting. I will tell you, Trevor knows this. I have another show called HB2U, which is Happy Birthday to You, and it's just a fun show. I do 3 or 4 a week now, and I invite any people I meet on this show and my other shows to guest co-host with me. But Ethan, I research just like I did at the top of the celebrity birthdays. Social media star birthdays, they have to have at least 1.5 million followers, fans, subscribers, or views of a single video. And then I do this event, the day event in music history. Not the day of the show, but it's not anybody's birthday that I know necessarily, but it's milestones on the date of the show. And then I do wacky holidays. Ethan, it takes me 3 to 4 hours to research one show for about a 30-minute show. And I send the list to the guest 24 hours in advance, and it's up to them if they want to read it in advance and add their own comments, or whether we just take turns reading down. But I'll tell you, I'm trying to find more efficient ways to do research. But Ethan, I think you will recognize this and understand. I fall down the rabbit hole of research, and I love it. I found cupcake National Cupcake Day. Well, it wasn't enough that I had a timeline of when the word cupcake first appeared in a cookbook in 1872 or something like that, and what it was originally called. 1, 2, 3, 4 cakes. Did you know that number cakes they were called? Because it was what was it? 1 cup of sugar, 2 cups of flour, 3 eggs, and something else, because they didn't have measuring cups in the 1800s like we do the Pyrex cups. So it was called 1, 2, 3, 4. So anyway, and then I found out when it was in a movie and when somebody else talked about it. It was an hour of research just on cupcakes. And I had a blast uncovering it. But I looked and it was dark. I thought, I better put the lights on. So, Ethan, I understand that quest. It's powerful, but I find it compelling to research, don't you?
Oh,
Looking,
absolutely. I mean, just the
I
stories you
love
just
it.
told me are fascinating. That's what I enjoy about the research. And the challenge really in researching, though, is finding something that's fascinating enough to be, to put in a book or on a podcast, but not so lengthy the story will, bore listeners or readers.
That's right. And I will tell you a quick fact. You'll all appreciate this, I think. In the 1950s, pre-mixed cake mixes came out, and we had muffin tins. So you could make muffins and cupcakes that were all about the same size and look cool. However, big problem. They marketed them and they sold them with dehydrated eggs and fat and everything in the box. And
Oh,
American women said, I feel guilty. I couldn't possibly use a mix where everything is already in there. I feel disconnected. I don't feel like I have a role in this. I'm just pouring this in with maybe, I don't know, water they're adding or something, and it's just coming out as cupcakes. That's not right. So then they said, you have to add the eggs and the oil and the water and the milk fresh. And then they said, Oh, yay, we're really baking cupcakes. The word is guilty. Who knew that American women didn't want that level of convenience? See, Ethan, I mean, this is ground shaking, so, and I appreciate why the recipe box always says add 3 eggs, half a cup of oil and water. And the trick is to put the water in the measuring cup first, half cup, and then add the oil. It doesn't stick as badly. Okay, thank you all for the interesting information. We're going down some rabbit holes here. I want to move on. This is the part of the show where I've asked each of you to please send me a fictional quote from a movie or a TV character or a song lyric. And we're starting out with Trevor. By the way, Trevor, sir, what does the W stand for? I have it in my notes, but not on your name. Who are you?
Wesley. Wesley. Very
Oh
good.
my
Kind of
goodness.
a Scottish Protestant, name. Yeah. It was in the
Trevor
family, and so they kept it.
Very nice name, by the way. Okay, so you have sent us a line, a very famous line from a song performed in 1966 by the American folk rock band Buffalo Springfield. And the song was written by none other than Stephen Stills. And I'll just give you a little background. He wrote the song in response to the curfew riots in LA in November 66. Police were confronting young people who were mad. It wasn't about the Vietnam War, it was because there was a curfew at 10 p.m. at clubs on the Sunset Strip. And that's where emerging counterculture and music was happening. And kids said, but we want to stay out later than 10 o'clock. And the police said, no, you don't, go home. So he wrote the song to talk about the confusion, the mistrust, the generational divide, the sense that something important was shifting. And the lyrics were intentionally ambiguous and observational. And here you go. By the way, it reached #7 on the Billboard Hot 100 the next year and later appeared on their debut album. And the line, of course, is, there's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. What a fabulous line. I think it's very current too. Trevor, I'm putting you back on speaker. Everybody's nodding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trevor, why don't you go ahead and tell us what this has to do with your creativity, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, even growing up in Canada, the fact is, though we were not separated from everything else going on in the world, all the troubles in the United States at the time, Vietnam, etc., but also in Europe, and so that was a song that I think spoke very much to my generation, many generations. And as you allude to, actually, I think it's really interesting, though, that it's a song that becomes kind of timeless. I don't know how many times in the last couple of years, either on movies or just radio stations, that song has been played again. So, and I think that says something about really creative works, that they are kind of timeless. It's like watching a great movie. I'm a big fan of Citizen Kane and, older movies. You subject my kids to, actually, you got to watch this old show. But, but I think there's, literature, art, music, all of these things, when they're really good, they have a capacity to speak to people over generations and never really date.
Thank you very much. Very iconic song, iconic lyrics, and I didn't know the background to that, so I was happy, Ethan, to do my research on Trevor's quote. There you go. See, it's important to know this. Let me move on to Tripti. You have sent a very interesting quote. I think it may be iconic as well, from Morpheus, played by Lawrence Fishburne. Everybody knows where we're going with this. Speaking to Neo, played by the wonderful Keanu Reeves. The movie The Matrix, 1999 sci-fi film directed by the Wachowskis or Wachowskis. I still don't know how to say that. It takes place in two overlapping realities, a simulated late 20th century urban world that appears familiar, and the stark post-apocalyptic real world where humanity is unknowingly enslaved by machines. Nobody say a word, please. Okay, here is the quote Tripti has selected. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. And there's that word. Okay, there's that phrase. Tripti, how did you pick this? How did you find it? And what does it have to do with your creativity, please?
Oh gosh, that movie and that line have stuck with me for how many decades now? I don't know if I got it the first time. And then as I lived my life and as I went through my own experiences of even learning Western medicine, Eastern medicine, kind of a juxtaposition of two worlds, I felt very aligned with what was the message behind that. And really, frankly, it's that, are we going to open up that rabbit hole and go into that deep delve of the mind, the subconscious mind, and what goes beyond the physical, and get into energy, which is something that Eastern medicine really talks a lot about. So it really resonated with me the more I learned Eastern medicine and the importance of that line just spoke to me.
Thank you. And that's what movies do, and that's what songs do, right? They,
Yeah.
if they speak to us, they stay with us, and we talk about them, we write about them, we share them. That's the way it goes. Yes. It's not about how high it got on the charts, it's how well it incorporated itself into part of our life, what it means to us. That's why I'm fascinated when I ask my guests to send me. Sometimes we get very iconic lines. Sometimes we get the same quotes many times a year from guests from different backgrounds, different skills, because that's what they were, where we're going. We won't need roads, from, 1985. And yes, we all know that. Back to the Future. That's a favorite one. And You Can't Handle the Truth used to be a favorite one from A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson. We know that one. But recently I'm getting different quotes, and I appreciate these. And speaking of that, let's move on to Ethan. This is a quote I did not know, and I like it a lot. It's spoken by Carolinus, voiced. We're going back in time here. Harry Morgan, The Flight of Dragons, 1982 animated fantasy film based on the works of Peter Dickinson and Gordon R. Dixon, blending classic myth with speculative science. The character Carolinus, I'm going to say it that way, is a wise, scholarly dragon who represents knowledge, reason, and the bridge between magic and logic. In the film, I won't go on because I'm going to read the quote and you can explain it. Here we go. Imagination is the most potent of all magic. Oh, what a beautiful quote. Ethan, tell us, how did you find this from a 1982 movie? Talk to me.
Well, I do my research.
Yeah, I
I
know.
went down the rabbit hole. What can I say? So I found this quote. I said, this is very interesting because really, creativity is there's so much to say about creativity. But even before there's creativity, for most people, imagination comes before creativity. You have the image in your head, you have the idea in your head, and then you express it, and you're being creative when you express it. The imagination you saw when you express the image or idea you had in your head, and when you act on it and say, "Gee, I'm going to build this, or write this, or do this, or perform this piece of music," and it starts in your head and in your imagination, and that's why it's so powerful.
Thank you. I used to on the show a couple of years ago, it might have been when you were on before, Ethan, we talked about meaning of the word creativity and the sources. And we used to talk about courage. We used to talk about curiosity. We used to talk about commitment, right? I have an idea. I'm going to commit to create something from it. So imagination is always one that popped up somewhere. It just didn't start with a C. So I'm teasing you. Thank you very much for the quotes, everyone. I really appreciate them. All fascinating, and you're all fascinating. Now we're going to go to your creativity statements, and we're going to turn this into a true round table. Okay, it looks a little square to me, but it's going to be round. So I'm going to pick one of your 4 statements, Trevor. I've got one keyed up here. You don't need to find it. I will read it. I'm a good reader. You know that. And then I'd like you to unpack it like they do on the news. Tell us a little bit more about what it means. I'm not going to read the whole one because it's very detailed. You'll know which one it is. And then I would like Trupti and Ethan to chime in and say whether it means something to you, whether you identify with it, whether it resonates with you or not. But don't get into your own creativity statements, because I'm going to pick one from Tripti then and one from Ethan, and we'll go into a discussion and see what our similarities are and what our unique takes on creativity are. That's what's so special about this part of the show. So Trevor says, I don't have a particular time of day when I write, though I'm often thinking about writing throughout the day. I'll read 2 more sentences. My inspiration comes when I'm walking, cooking supper. You can come and cook for us anytime. Working out at the gym, or vacuuming. An idea comes to me and I must write it down before I lose it, or the passionate energy that the idea invokes. And I have a great quote from David Byrne about just this. Trevor, tell us a little bit more. Vacuuming, baking supper. What are these ideas that bubble up? Tripti is already nodding, so we'll get her to say something. Ethan, you got to think about it. Trevor, go ahead. I'm putting you back on
Well,
speaker view.
I sometimes read about people who say they're very dedicated, far more disciplined than me, I guess, who say, well, I get up at 6 in the morning, I have a coffee, I go to the office, I start writing, and I write till 10 o'clock, and I got to produce X number of words or something. I just couldn't do it. For one thing, I don't get up at 6 o'clock, but I will have my coffee when I get up. So what I find is it's in some ways, the creative part of my brain can work while my body is off doing something else. And so if I'm running, and as long as I pay enough attention to not trip and break my neck. But, my brain can be working on something else. Maybe it's a project, maybe it's a problem or whatever. And something even as mundane as cutting the grass. Again, you don't want to cut your toes off on the lawnmower, but, eh, doing some cooking or something. So part of your brain is working on this other thing because the physical activity is actually kind of mundane in some sense. So you're freed up suddenly. And I think for a lot of creative people, the most important thing is time and space where you allow your brain to actually kind of wander. And again, that's kind of what Ethan was talking about, the imaginary, being able to imagine things, having the time and space to allow your brain to kind of do that. So that's kind of what I was getting at there in terms of my particular process, is to allow things that will give my brain that space to do that kind of work.
Thank you. Giving the brain space. I have it in all these shows. I haven't heard anybody express it quite that way. That was very eloquent, Mr. Harrison. Very interesting. Tripti, comments, thoughts? What about that? Vacuuming, making supper, giving your brain space. What do you think, Tripti?
Yeah, as a neurologist here, I've got to jump in on that brain space. It's a great concept. And I think a lot of it, back to even the Matrix red and blue pill, it's this idea of moving from the left brain, which is that very logical, organized, let's get the S done, get it done, versus the right, which is that free flowing, creative part of us that is really connected to, that almost like subconscious experience of when you're in nature, when you're cooking, when you're in that free flowing state, that brain wakes up. And that's where some really unique ideas come because we're not trying to think, we're receiving ideas and we're just kind of inspired by things too that we're engaged in that allows us to kind of get to that state. So I love it. Love
Key
it.
word, receiving ideas. Very interesting. Ethan, what about you? What do you think of when you're vacuuming or making supper, or do you?
I don't, those are not times when I'm particularly creative. Uh, I'm creative more when I'm sitting in front of my computer or reading a book or searching for information about a billionaire. But, no, definitely not while vacuuming or, I'd be more likely to have an idea or be creative while I'm driving.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. What do you do with that idea? Do you speak into a speaker recording on your phone, or do you have a piece of paper while you're driving and you jot it down? Don't tell us. We shouldn't
I
know
try
that.
to put a note in my phone as soon as I can. I mean, I usually, hopefully wait for a red light, or if I have to, I'll pull over, and just jot it into a note in my phone, and put it into my computer later, or write it down someplace if I'm not driving.
Interesting.
Uh,
Mm.
but it varies.
I think a lot of my creative ideas. I have 5 shows this year, 5 different series, and I think I only had 2 last year. I started a third one and it ballooned into 5. Is when I'm bored and when I say I don't have enough to do. I'm watching too many French detective shows. I watch French and Italian detective shows in their language. I used to speak French. Now I enjoy the accents and to read the subtitles. But the point is that when I say I don't have enough to do or I'm bored, what do I want to do? What would I like to do, Ethan? What do I want to research that will lead to something? That's how I came up with the birthday show with the HBT2U, which is the day of the show, those birthdays. It's not somebody's birthday, I know. And all of a sudden it just popped up, and I said to myself, well, you're doing some of this anyway for your other shows. Start a show. And I did. And I woke up. By the way, by the end of this year, I will have done 78 shows in that series, sometimes
Hmm.
3 a week. So thank you. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
the the point is that it comes from when I have a gap in my busyness.
Mhm.
Tripty, I don't know what part of the brain is saying you need to do something else. You can't sit there and eat chocolate chips and watch TV all night. You got to come up with something else. Go research something. Think about Ethan Starr. Okay, and space in the brain. Trevor, you want to say something? Go.
Yeah, I was going to say it's interesting this discussion, and Ethan nails it. There's no one way to creativity. Everybody has their own particular way of doing it. Actually, Ethan mentions about driving, and that was one I could have mentioned there. We're very fortunate in this part of Canada that we have long stretches of highway, and so you still have to pay attention to traffic, but lots of times I do a lot of writing and solving issues that could be problems around writing while I'm driving. And driving is just a wonderful place. It's also a great place to listen to music, to be honest. So, that is one of my venues for creativity for sure.
Do you have a self-driving car yet, Trevor? You're scaring me.
No, I do not. But as I said, our highways are actually quite straight here, and you occasionally there's a bump in the road, or maybe a gopher jumps out at you. But otherwise, it's pretty safe.
Thank you. I feel better now. I'm going to move on to Tripti. I'm looking at a couple of your statements here. I'm going to combine 3 and 4. I think I know that Trevor and Ethan will be intrigued by these. Let's see if they have anything to say. So Tripti says on statement 3, the few moments after a yoga practice, after applying essential oils, my mind enters a state where ideas come and I'm open to suggestions. And then she moves it into the kitchen and says, using spices and unique ingredients in the kitchen while chanting gives me a sense of comfort and peace. I've never had a guest say either of these, Tripti. I'm very intrigued. So I'm already thinking of essential oils. We want to know which ones you use and what spices to use because we all want to be creative like you. So why don't you tell us a little bit more? Tripti, go.
Yes, it's all about senses, the 5 senses. When it comes to engaging the nervous system, it's how do we get those senses activated? And so many of us go on with our day, move, 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 and go, 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 and don't pause and stop to smell the roses, right? So part of it is like essential oils. When you think of the nerve, the olfactory nerve, it's the only cranial nerve that kind of moves out of this, like the brain, the structure of the brain, and comes out to say hello. And it's in the cribriform plate right there in the nose, and it's actually waiting to receive a scent so it can go back and talk to the amygdala, the fear center in the brain. And what's fascinating is that the scents that we use, if we use lavender, we can use eucalyptus, we could use sandalwood, whatever, rose, whatever kind of appeals to you, can actually go back and communicate with the nervous system and give it a sense of peace and calm and joy and safety, which is nice because when we're moving and going, just even doing that can stop us in our tracks and get us to kind of move inward. So that's the sense. And then spice is really similarly, there's 6 tastes that are supposed to be in every dish we eat, but very often we don't get all 6 in. So most Western foods are sweet, sour, salty. And then the Eastern adds that, mostly Eastern foods add that bitter, pungent, astringent. A lot of Western foods don't have the bitters and pungents and astringents. And you get that from like turmeric and from cumin seeds and from fennel and, coriander. And so we can, even in our Western foods, as rosemary and thyme, and add things to just spice things up because that enhances the palate and that brings on kind of an opening of the nervous system. And then back to receiving, you start to receive more because you're not in that state of being. You're kind of in that openness of like, ooh, what does the universe want to share with me? Or what do I have to receive? And it's kind of a cool place to be.
That's a very cool place to be. Everything you said, Trevor's just chomping to talk about this. Trevor, go ahead.
My mouth is actually watering, having just been in Vietnam and some of the wonderful foods we had there.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what strikes me immediately is we do quite often forget about the importance of smell and taste. We think about hearing things, we think about seeing things. But I have a book that is supposed to be out sometime in the very early next year about travels across the Middle East, the hippie trail many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told people that one of the things that takes me back in time as much as anything, it's not a great smell, but the smell of diesel oil. The smell of a diesel truck suddenly will take me back to places that, quite often that's the vehicles that we're driving around. And I'm immediately back in the scene of some town or some city someplace. But what Trupti's saying here is how really powerful smells can be and taste can be in just conjuring up all kinds of images and thoughts and memories about things. So yeah, I concur entirely.
Thank you. Very interesting. Ethan, any tastes or smells that you want to share with us? I'm sorry, I said that didn't come out right. Talk to us, please, Ethan.
Sure. Well, look, interesting taste. I'm always looking for interesting and different tastes. There's always something I'm open to trying. And, I don't really, unfortunately, use much as far as the way of like lavender or other, interesting aromatics in my apartment, which might, would probably be helpful as far as calming me down, perhaps, and just relaxing and just put me in a more relaxed mood to do research. But I know most of the time I'm reading, and I get engrossed in that, and I might just tune everything out. So
there you
yeah.
go. Tripti, I have a problem with salt because I need more than usual to taste it. My salt taste buds have dulled over the years, and I've come up with very often in the evening if I'm working, doing shows and doing my research, and I might not get around to making dinner till 8 or 9 at night, which I know you're not supposed to eat that late. But I'll make a soft scrambled egg made with a piece of mustard cheese inside of it, and then a very soft roll cut in half and toasted with a little tiny bit of butter. But I've learned to put salt into the eggs as they're cooking instead of standing there with a shaker and doing it once they're on the plate. And that seems to, and I know I'm not supposed to have a lot of salt, but salt is still my favorite spice. I don't know. Is that a terrible thing? Am I getting the pungent? Am I getting the bitter? Where does salt fit in?
Salt, it's in the sweet, sour, salty. It's the salty. So the
Okay,
nice thing about that one is that what you did is really interesting, actually, because when you look at Indian Ayurvedic cooking, there's something called a tarka, where they take like ghee and they put the spices and let the spices pop, and then you put the vegetables in. And
Ah,
you're kind of almost doing that. You're enhancing the spice by putting it within the cooked item and cooking the item, sorry, before it fully gets cooked, right? And
yeah.
so that's actually a great way to enhance. And
Oh,
because what they say is the spices move their way into the food, so the food kind of becomes medicinal. And salt isn't all bad. I mean, I think, taking just a little bit and adding some of that to your palate is fine, as long as
hmm.
you have huge high blood pressure issues and all that, we want to be careful. But if you
I've
don't,
always had low. Yep.
and
Very, very interesting. I was going to say that when I make my famous, well, Trevor knows my famous banana milkshake. We've talked about that. It's 6 ounces of 1% milk and some frozen unsweetened strawberries and a banana, medium size, fairly ripe, not spotted and icky and not hard and chalky, but right there. And that, I buy 9 a week, and I'm the woman with 20 minutes in the banana section of the produce. Yeah, but I'm very fussy. Anyway, I add a little bit of sometimes a couple of shakes of ginger and a couple shakes of cinnamon to it before I hit the pulse on my individual 12-ounce blender there, my pulse maker. And it's very interesting. And those add just that little bit. So when I add ginger and cinnamon, what category am I in?
I love it because I've been trying to guess the types while we're chatting here. And so you've got a lot of earth, the earth element to you. And earthy
Mm.
individuals are more grounded and calm, introspective. And
I'm
about
sorry.
earth, she's laughing. But you've also got the wind because you're creative. And wind earth is a great combination because you're very dynamic and creative
Mhm.
and yet also grounded. So you can kind of think ideas and then kind of bring yourself settle down, which is a beautiful, that's why you have a podcast. I mean, if you were
Yeah,
wind, you wouldn't be able to run a podcast because you have to have something to ground you. But
I'd
the
be.
spices, like the ginger and cinnamon, are actually great because the ginger and cinnamon can prevent you from being too heavy because they're actually activating spices, right? So it kind
Ah,
of offsets. The banana is really sweet and heavy. It actually can push people kapha, push them into more of a heavy state. So you're actually
interesting.
medicinally like fixing kind of the natures of the foods and bringing this one up and that one's heavy. And look at that. You
Interesting.
create your
And
own
some
formula.
agave syrup too, a little bit. Trevor
I,
knows
Oh,
my
yeah.
story.
I
Go.
just I just wanted to say, Red, we must be twins because I love ginger, but I love cinnamon even more. I am a cinnamon freak. You had me at hello, you had me at cinnamon. Uh, but
I
but
like
but
you
my
too.
my other spice I discovered a few years back, and I have to use it now whenever we make spaghetti sauce, is tarragon.
Oh,
I love
stop,
tarragon,
stop,
and
stop.
yeah, that's
Potatoes, small potatoes, cut them
oh,
small, fry them in a little bit of butter, put tarragon and basil in them, and you will
yeah.
go to heaven. I had them
Trying
at a
that.
restaurant 30 years ago, and that's a treat if you're making scrambled eggs or something for Sunday breakfast. Skip the bacon. Potatoes in a pan individually with little pieces with basil and tarragon. Oh my,
Yeah.
oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Ethan,
I might have to end this interview early and just go off and start eating it.
I don't know what I'm having for dinner, but I think I do now. Ethan, I want to get to you have an interesting take on your creativity, and I'm just going to read one little tiny bit of what you sent me because you've talked about a lot of it already. You say the act of collecting information and my writing are inspired by the fascinating stories of the successful people I read about. Okay. I
Yes.
mostly create inside various times of the day with the music off. I read, I take notes in my living room. I write on my laptop in my home office, and you like to attend meetings like Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway meeting. So the point is that you're grounded in your creativity seems to be fed by meeting people, reading about people more than we're not going to talk about where and time of day and all that. Can you give us a little bit more on that, please, Ethan?
Absolutely. Well, but it's just going to Warren Buffett's, his company, Berkshire Hathaway, has an annual meeting every May in Omaha. And just going there is fascinating. I mean, people from all over the world. I mean, I was in line last year and just talked to the guy next to me and said, "Where are you here from?" He was from Slovenia, and in Europe. And I was like, wow, this guy came all the way here. This is such a long way to come and not cheap to get here. But he wanted to be there, and just fascinating. And then, and people have all kinds of different backgrounds and they all have different ideas, and just it's fascinating. And we share a common interest in Warren Buffett and learning more from Warren Buffett. And it's just very interesting. And another meeting I went to, a different company, no billionaires involved, but I was sitting at lunch at this meeting in between the sessions, and somebody else at the table, somebody else sat down at the table. Turns out he's a corrections officer in a prison, but he was there because he does his own investing. And I said, I would never meet this person almost anywhere else. So
very interesting.
Yeah.
I meet Ethan, you know this, and Tripti maybe. Ethan has done the summit several times. I know I meet so many interesting people through the publicity summit, and I've met people. I met a woman, actually Trevor through Mickey. I met an author who was a corrections officer and a police person for 26 years, and now she writes sci-fi novels. I met somebody who was the security guard for Spielberg, I think years ago when he had lions and tigers on the set. The guy ended up writing 13 mysteries, and he was an HR executive formerly, and he was writing mysteries and fantasies. So you're right, Ethan. We do meet very interesting people. I think all right, let me back up. When I invited all of you on the show, I said, don't send me your media bio, which is 3 or 4 sentences that are top line, and you already pitched me. I love you. I want you all
yeah.
on the show. Send me an origin story. That's the key to me to getting to know you. That's how I created those I don't call them poems, rhyming bios for the beginning of the show, based on what you told me. That's what made you created the person who you are creating, who you are being right now. That's what I'm interested in. So I stopped asking for bios and started asking for origin stories a while ago. And I find that's where I see the little fascinating things, the little bits and pieces. Where did somebody grow up, and what were their parents like, and what were they doing? And when I do my HB2U show and I do the backgrounds on the stars who were having their birthdays on that particular day, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that's discoverable on their IMDb database or on their Wikipedia. This Adam Brody, who's 46 today, who's been in a whole bunch of shows, he dropped out of community college at 19 and moved to Hollywood to be a star. He did poorly in school, and he's not afraid to say, and you know what? He spent most of his teens on the beach. He was a surfer. He didn't want to go to school. He wanted to be an actor, and he is. So interesting, these backstories. Ethan, I'm trying to say that there's so much about people that the top line, what we say we are and we do, that doesn't even scratch the surface on how we got there. I'm
Oh,
fascinated. Agree?
totally.
Agree. Good. I thought you'd agree with me eventually. I'm only teasing. I want to read a couple of things to you. We have about 7 minutes left, and I want to read some things. I have some interesting quotes, and thank you all for doing the background work on yourself to tell me what your creativity statements were and all that. Very, very interesting. So I have some movie quotes, and I'm going to read you one of my poems. I write poetry every Wednesday all year long, and then every single day in the month of April. In the month of November, I'm part of the Writer's Digest poetry group. It's online, it's free, and the moderator sends us a prompt every single day during the months of November and April, and then every Wednesday the rest. It's like being addicted to everyday poetry, and all of a sudden, oh my God, it's only one day a week on Wednesday. We're all going through this withdrawal now. So a couple of quotes. Lucy Maud Montgomery, who wrote Anne of Green Gables, you might have heard of it, 1908, Canadian author, Trevor. Here's an
I've been
interesting.
to the house. I've been to the house in
See, I know,
PEI.
and the host, he's about the host. Okay, I love you. In chapter 19, which was called A Concert, a Catastrophe, and a Confession, listen to this. Here's the quote. Something just flashes into your mind, so exciting, and you must out with it. If you stop to think it over, you spoil it all. That resonate with anybody about our
Yep.
creativity? Isn't that a beautiful line? And then I have one from Rapunzel from the movie Tangled, 3D computer animated musical adventure fantasy comedy film, voiced by Mandy Moore in 2010. My goodness, was that really 15 years ago? Venture outside your comfort zone. the rewards are worth it. Isn't that true?
Hmm.
Tripti, you went outside your training, your comfort zone, and look at what you learned. Here's a great quote from the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you'll get what you need. Going back to 1969. And Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, played by Billy Burke. We're going back to the original Wizard of Oz, 1939. You had the power all along, my dear. We had it to be creative. It was there. And David Byrne talks about his little beginnings. Remember David Byrne, rock star? Okay. Talking Heads frontman. And he says, you're already more creative than you think. You just need to pay more attention to your ideas. He calls them the little beginnings. Write them down, scribble them somewhere, record them somewhere, and then go back to them. Now, I have a quote from one of my poems. I dedicate this every week. Trevor, you might have heard this one before. Ethan, I don't think you did. I wrote this on Wednesday, July 24th, 2024, so a little over a year, almost a year and a half ago. It's an acrostic, and the acrostic, of course, and the word of the prompt is night shift. So one line starts with N and then IGHTSHIFT, and I dedicate this to all of you. So here we go. I'll lean in when I read the next line so you'll know where I'm going. Never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative. Going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing, highs and lows flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights are the days again, shifting off and on, into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a calling, command, curse, roller coaster, finding eureka, euphoria amid frustration, fears. Thus is the life of the creative. What do you think?
I like it.
You like it? Thank you.
Very
It's all in
good.
the reading, of course, but yes, I read it every week. I went to the top. I put my hand up, and Zoom put me up at the top, and I'm in a different position on the screen. Stop that. I want to go back. Okay, and I have, let me see. We're just about out of time, but let's just do a quick roundtable here on what you're all planning. I'm going to lower the hand. There we go. Now I'm back on the right. Okay. What are your all plans for creativity in 2026? Anything you could share with us? Any books, any travels, anything? Just 1 minute apiece, maximum, actually 45 seconds. Trevor, I'm starting with you. Where are you going?
Okay, well, I have two poetry books self-published coming out right away. I have this other book about my hippie trail travels coming out, should be out in January. I'm planning a trip probably to France at some point in the spring with family. Going to take the grandkids over there. And I'm also working on some short stories, fictional short stories. This is a little bit more of a stretch for me, but I've got 4 or 5 in the can already, so I'm pleased with them. So yeah, lots of things to do in 2026. Looking forward to it.
And you're sure you don't get up every day at 6 and write with how prolific you are? Don't even answer that one already. We got that. Tripty, what's up for you in the new year?
Well, I have a fun adventure of a corporate challenge I'm putting together. I'm doing this 6 week challenges where I'm bringing Eastern medicine into more like a 6 week, bringing ancient medicine and yoga with fitness training. I'm kind of developing a program because I realize that, this ancient medicine system can be really deep and heavy. So I'm going to try to bring it into 6 weeks, pull in like the fitness exercises that most people do, healthy eating, protein, all everyone's watching the protein in their foods, but also incorporate spices and all that. So that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be traveling a lot. My son's gonna be in Madrid. He's gonna be doing a study abroad program. So we're going to Portugal and Madrid. Daughter's in San Francisco, gonna go visit her out there and just kind of do my thing and blend East
Lovely.
as much as I can.
Lovely. We want to hear about that. Ethan, plans?
Sure, absolutely. My book is going to be coming out in January.
Congratulations.
So late January, it should be out and available on Amazon. And the challenge for me will be to creative in how I market it, and how I reach readers and just, where I can advertise and where I can maybe appear in other media outlets as well. So that's the challenge I'm looking forward to.
There you go. Rumor has it that claymation characters are gaining popularity on little TikToks and little promotional videos and little scenarios. And I don't know if you know anybody who can make claymation for you, but apparently they're talking and they're moving and they have little signs under them with the transcript of what they're saying, and that's becoming. I'm seeing a lot of that. And yeah. So anyway, You'll find your niche in where you need to be, I'm sure, Ethan, because everybody knows you do such great research. I want
I
to thank
try.
all of you so much. Don't go away. We're going to stay just for a couple minutes. I know Ethan has to run. In 2014, I closed the show with the top 10 tips for women, even though I don't always have all females on the show, obviously, for today, but I thought you would enjoy this. The number one tip in 2014 was aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. Okay, that was 11 years before the movie. Okay, now I'm going to close with my real, then we'll play the music and we'll rock it out. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. I still am trying to work on that. Kiss slowly. It's the only way. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Everybody laugh with me. 1, 2, 3. Not bad. Don't hurt yourself. And never regret anything that made you smile. Final closing. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching dancing, they all watched. Sing like nobody's listening. I didn't sing too much. I didn't sing at all today. Love like you've never been hurt. Never been hurt. We've all been hurt. Let your heart regrow, regroup, rejuvenate. Let your heart learn to love again. Money talks, chocolate sings, la. See, that was the one I saved for the end. And last but not least, I stole this line from somebody years ago. Thank you for turning me on, and let's go out.
On Read My Lips Radio, producer and host, aka Radio Red, invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers what makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box. Enjoy, aka Radio Red's always lively, cool conversations with creatives. Oh, how those lips can talk.
Thank you to the voice of Ryan
On
Treasure.
Read My Lips.
All right, Ryan, you have enough there. I want to thank my 3 very special guests, Trevor Harrison, all the best, Trupti Gokani, lovely to meet you. I'm so happy I met you at the summit. Stick around, we'll talk for a minute. Ethan Starr, you're always a star. There you go.
I try. Thank you.
Radio Red, everybody, and thank you to Jordan Henson, our engineer, getting us on the Voice America Media. It's VAM now. VAM! Empowerment.